During the chilly months of 1952, a facility's overseer in a modest industrial municipality caught onto an unusual pattern. Two completely identical structures stood next to each other, drawing from the exact same power grid and operating the exact same machinery. Yet, month after month, one facility steadily registered a smaller electricity footprint. The gap wasn't massive, it wasn't flashy, and it certainly wasn't front-page news. But as the weeks passed, the savings quietly, steadily, and unfailingly piled up. The subsequent inquiry didn't reveal any futuristic gadgets or secret machines. Rather, it uncovered an approach to electrical layouts that was widely practiced during the post-war construction era. Engineers of that time held the conviction that energy conservation began way before the current ever hit an appliance. They envisioned the building's skeleton as a conduit to guide power flawlessly, much like how expertly routed pipes allow water to glide without turbulence. This specific mindset influenced the construction of countless residences and factories throughout the Western Hemisphere, many of which remain fully functional today. In that era, components were pricey, craftsmanship was meticulous, and breakdowns were simply not tolerated. Power grids were engineered for immense longevity because tearing them out to replace them was highly impractical. When a designer signed off on a schematic, the expectation was straightforward. Put it in once and trust it to run flawlessly for generations. This way of thinking resulted in architectures that championed equilibrium, firmness, and steady power allocation, avoiding the need for endless modernizations. One of the most captivating details uncovered in those old blueprints was a deep dedication to symmetry. Wiring paths were mapped out so that the electrical burden was shared equally among the conductors, rather than piling all the demand onto a single route. This wasn't some hidden magic trick. It was not a classified technique. It was fundamental physics executed with rigorous discipline. When electrical flow is split symmetrically, resistance drops, thermal levels flatline, and the physical parts degrade at a much slower pace. To grasp why this is so crucial even now, imagine a metropolis's delivery network. If every avenue carries an equal portion of the freight traffic, packages show up promptly, and the trucks consume minimal fuel. But the moment one highway gets completely jammed while parallel routes remain deserted, bottlenecks emerge, engines sit idling, fuel is burned away, and overall output plummets. Electrical networks operate on the exact same logic. Lopsided demand breeds friction, and that friction transforms usable energy into sheer waste. Back in the 50s, technicians closely monitored the relationship between hardware and circuitry. They knew that heavy motors, cooling compressors, and thermal coils triggered minor power fluctuations every time they kicked on or shut off. Those variations were entirely standard, yet the designers knew that constant, unbalanced surges would eventually overwork a poorly distributed grid. Therefore, they crafted delivery routes capable of absorbing these shifts effortlessly, sparing the infrastructure from undue strain. As the decades rolled by, construction norms pivoted toward rapid assembly and mass uniformity. Houses went up faster to satisfy booming populations. Breaker panels grew more compact. Installations became highly standardized. While these shifts boosted convenience and scalability, they drastically cut down the hours devoted to meticulously calibrating load distribution. Efficiency morphed into an appliance selling point rather than a foundational structural principle. This shift birthed a hidden consequence. Countless electrical frameworks operated securely, but far from flawlessly. They passed safety codes and supplied reliable power, yet minor friction points quietly compounded out of sight. A slightly warm wire here, a tiny drop in voltage there, nothing hazardous, just a steady accumulation of drag nudging the monthly power draw upward. Experts who analyze aging grids frequently spot a distinct pattern. Vintage buildings outfitted with precisely balanced wiring consistently hold up remarkably well, even after half a century of heavy use. Their cables run cooler, their insulation survives longer, their hardware suffers vastly fewer unexplained breakdowns. You might not notice the contrast on a random Tuesday, but over years of operation, the disparity is glaring. This is precisely why that mid-century mindset continues to draw the gaze of modern technicians. It embodies a strategy of prevention rather than correction. By engineering the layout to dodge strain right out of the gate, maintenance bills shrink. dependability skyrockets, and equipment is shielded from premature decay. Think about what occurs when electrical flow hits a bottleneck. The power intended to run devices is instead converted into heat within the wiring. That excess warmth gradually eats away at protective sheathing and terminal joints. Symmetrical load sharing directly combats this by ensuring current levels remain steady across the entire network. Another crucial takeaway from those older blueprints centers on junction integrity. Electricians of that era viewed every single splice as a critical intersection. They polished metal contacts, tightened down lugs firmly, and verified spatial alignments before closing the panel. Their objective was singular: forge an avenue where electrons could travel completely unimpeded. That extreme diligence stopped microscopic friction from compounding into major failures. Today, cutting-edge diagnostic gear can track voltage, thermal output, and load behaviors instantaneously. These modern gadgets simply validate what veteran designers already knew through pure observation. Frameworks that preserve equilibrium run cooler and utilize power far more effectively than systems battling uneven stress. The underlying physics hasn't shifted. We simply have better measurement tools. In tightly controlled field tests, researchers sometimes run side-by-side trials on comparable electrical grids. One setup is optimized with balanced pathways and tight junctions, while the other uses standard construction habits. After several weeks, the optimized array consistently demonstrates steadier voltage and a noticeable drop in heat generation. The financial gains trickle in gradually, but they are relentlessly consistent. Of course, safety must always dictate every electrical decision. Power is a potent, invisible, and merciless force. Even seasoned veterans adhere to rigid protocols when opening a service panel. Utilizing the correct gear, wearing protective apparel, and strictly following local codes are non-negotiable. Any efficiency upgrades must be executed responsibly and verified by licensed experts to guarantee the building stays absolutely secure. Property owners looking to boost performance can start by simply paying attention. Watch if lamps flicker when heavy motors kick on. Listen for bizarre humming noises from receptacles. Feel for unusual heat radiating from heavy cables. These clues typically point to resistance or an uneven load somewhere in the loop. Spotting these red flags early prevents wasted energy and saves your hardware. Consistent upkeep is another incredible asset. Hardware connections inevitably loosen over time thanks to shifting temperatures and ambient vibrations. Dirt buildup and oxidation can also disrupt conductivity. Regular checkups re-establish flawless contact and lock in steady performance. More often than not, basic maintenance unlocks measurable efficiency gains without needing to replace major components. There is a distinct economic perk to this stability. Machinery that avoids overheating simply outlives the rest. Motors endure less punishment. Insulation holds its strength. These factors slash repair invoices and extend the lifespan of appliances. Rather than endlessly chasing upgrades, the system quietly sustains its own reliability. As global energy demands climb higher, grid architects are returning to the bedrock principles of earlier decades. They are merging high-tech sensors with old-school load balancing tactics. The byproduct is a fresh wave of systems championing symmetry, toughness, and long-term efficiency over short-term convenience. The core wisdom tucked away inside those mid-century schematics is surprisingly straightforward. True efficiency isn't always about bolting on more equipment. Often, it comes from refining the skeleton that already exists. When current glides through a rock-solid, balanced grid, every single device hits its maximum potential. That concept isn't just a relic of the past. It belongs to our future. Because no matter how sophisticated technology gets, the uncompromising laws of physics refuse to budge. Energy will always flow best through environments that honor balance, strip away resistance, and demand flawless connections. So, the next time you review that monthly utility bill, keep this in mind. The journey of that final number started long before the current reached your appliances. It began deep within the plaster, inside the breaker box, across the silent web that pumps energy through your home every second of the day. Service the infrastructure. Honor the architecture. Ensure the current stays proportional. That is exactly how tiny calibrations evolve into permanent savings.